Hey everybody, wanted to do a little intro to this video and kind of give you guys an update on what's going on with me lately. I went on a little scouting trip Saturday and I just brought my GoPro along, did a little vlog, and thought I'd take you guys along for a quick video. What I got coming up, I'm leaving actually this afternoon for Iowa to do a scouting trip in Iowa. So I'm going to film that, be looking for that. I think I got some good stuff that's going to be on that video as far as scouting Iowa, how to gain permission on some private land in some of these sought after places. So keep an eye out for that. Also, turkey season's coming up. That turkey I shot with a longbow. It's the only turkey I ever have done anything with. I'm not that into turkey hunting, to be honest with you, but I was proud of that one. Anyway, going on a hunt in Ohio for turkeys with a longbow, also with some of the guys from the Push Archery. That's going to be a good time. That's going to be in May, and then also our season starts here in April. So looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are having a good off season, getting some scouting and shed hunting in. So I want to just say also thank you guys for watching the podcast or listening to the podcast. I guess that means a lot to me. It's a lot of work, and I'm going to keep after it until it's successful. So the hunting beast community is definitely the reason why I can even get something like that started and have a few people listen to it at least. So with that, I'll just get into the video with you, and I'll see you guys on another one. Morning everybody. Heading out doing some scouting today. It's end of February here. It's going to be a nice Saturday, and my mom and my wife and my little boy are out and about today all day, so I figured I might as well make the use of a free day I have and go scouting. So I was going to haul you guys around with me just to give you a description of where I'm going to go. The first place here is kind of some low area, what I would call kind of monotonous terrain with some transitions. So I'm going to go scout this area first. The reason I'm going to go scout it first here is it typically gets actually a lot of shed hunting pressure, and I'm just going to get in there early before other folks get in there and get out of there then. Yeah, just heading out there now. Well, I just hopped down in here in some of this public land. My goal today is I'm going to walk down this main road that kind of parallels the public land, because a lot of times I've seen deer crossing as I'm driving out of this place at night or going across the road, and I'm kind of thinking maybe they're bedding close to the road. I've never seen a big buck while I'm driving out, but that doesn't mean they're bedding in here. So because it is really thick along the road, so I'm just going to parallel the road, and then I'm going to kind of circle back around and go back in the back where I know there's bedding back in there that I've scouted before. But I just the parking spot's just right back here, and right away here you can see some hunter sign. So not real concerning, since I'm literally, I don't know, 80 yards from the parking lot right now. It doesn't really surprise me. So this is a area where the deer cross at. It's like a low area that goes out into some crop fields, but I don't think they're crossing it during daylight hours. In fact, they may more use it to come back in here at night than to cross in the evenings. Okay, I've been paralleling this road for a little bit and kind of assessing this area. And where I'm at right now, there's some trails paralleling the road, but never really goes up across it. And I think this is probably why right across the road here there's a house that has a bunch of big dogs out in the yard. It's always out there running around, and I'm assuming the deer, and they're barking at me right now walking through here, so I'm assuming those the deer don't like that. So they're probably not going to cross in this area, although it's nice and thick for them and everything. I'd imagine those dogs bother them. And on top of that, the looks like the house, there could be a deer hunter there, because he has a deer antlers and stuff in his barn when he has it open. So which a lot of times I find deer bedding
close to houses on public land. Like if there's a house that, you know, butts up to public land where there's trash or something behind it, the deer will bed there. But in this particular case, I don't think that would be the case. I think you need to assess the house. Like if you think it's an old lady that lives there that never goes in her backyard, never goes past her backyard, yeah, the deer will bed there. But if it's a guy that deer hunts and has, you know, 4 or 5 German Shepherds out in his yard, I don't think the deer like that. So something to think about whenever you're hunting public land. All right, I just walked like another 50 yards here along the road, across the road from this house, and there's a bottle there. So a little bit of human sign right here also, which has kind of deterred me from this area. So there's like this road, let's say it's a mile. It probably is. I don't know exactly how far, but between where I parked at and then the next kind of parking spot up there is about a mile. So I'm going to assume the deer are going to be kind of in between those two places, and then they'll be right off the road. And there's also a cornfield back in here you can see across the road. So that's how I'm making my way that way, but it's worth looking, picking up a little bit of trash on your way, cleaning up everybody else's freaking messes. Okay, I got another quarter mile down the road here, and there was a good trail coming from the crop fields back in here. Pretty good buck track on it, so I'm going to follow this trail back for a while. I kind of have a feeling I know where it's going to go because I was chasing a nice buck in here 2 years ago, and he was bedding back in here in this little clear cut area that's way back in here, about as far as you can get in, like in the middle of this place. So I'm going to just kind of follow it back here and see what happens here. All right, I'm just following this deer's tracks back into this piece of public here, and nice rub on his trail right here. I'm assuming that's from him. There's a transition I'm getting ready to come into right now, and it essentially breaks up like a river bottom and this little pine thicket that you can see behind me here. The river bottom kind of goes, it also parallels the road, just like 100 yards off the road is the river bottom. Beyond the river bottom is another like hardwood area, but it's not your typical hardwood area. It's just covered in greenbrier, and the deer really like that greenbrier. So that back in there, there's also a clear cut that the deer like to bed in. That's where I'm assuming this deer's going. All right, I made it through the river bottom, down in there, and kind of followed a deer trail as good as I could. It's pretty flooded right now. We had a lot of rain this week, but got back on a trail on the other side here, and you can see some of his rubs right here leading right back into where I think that bedding is back in there. So there's also a kind of a marshy area back in here that I'm going to go check. If I don't find what I'm looking for up here, that's kind of my secondary place where I think he may be staying. The only reason I think they don't like that area is because, and I could be wrong on this, I've been in there once before, probably 5 or 6 years ago, but it's a big lake, so a lot of times it's just a little area, and I think maybe they feel a little bit trapped in there with the water and whatnot. Now, the problem is it's like trapped on, 3 sides almost, so they can't really get out of there easily. Just my theory, doesn't mean I'm right, but just kind of what I'm thinking in my mind right now while I'm scouting. So, all right, let's keep going. All right, as you can see, I'm kind of down in a swamp here. I ended up, last time we talked, I was right up there. I noticed a nice trail coming down to this little swamp that I was telling you about. And the edge is just right there. And I kind of walked down through here, and we're a little bit flooded right now. You can see the water's fairly high. None of these little trees had any ground for anything to bed on at all right now, except for this one. And you can see right here is a deer bed. I have not really any indication that it's a buck bed, but it's definitely an old deer bed. Nothing's been laying here lately. I can tell that the deer haven't been in here as of the last week or so, but I'm going to keep on going just to see. This is a little tree line that goes out into this little marsh area. See what I see. Next tree had a nice bed underneath it. No big rubs out here or anything yet to hint to me that there's a buck out here, but that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't one. Keep on going here, trying not to get my feet wet. All right, I'm kind of at the end of where I can walk now. You can see there's a creek comes off the lake right there, and it's probably pretty deep right now, so I'm not going to attempt to get through there, but I'm interested in getting over on that side, doing a little scouting. A couple big trees over there. I could see some deer being bedding underneath, but I think I have to walk all the way around to get to it, which is no big deal. Got all the time in the world today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I don't think this area would produce a big deer. You may be like looking around me right now and think, man, that looks like an awesome spot. It's a little cattail marsh. There's little islands of trees in here, and that's all true. And it would be an awesome spot in some areas, but you really got to think about the property you're hunting and the best options for the deer. The deer aren't going to bed wherever you think they should bed. Sometimes it's whatever their best option is going to be on the property. In this particular property, they have better options, because in the woods there is what we have, and I don't even know if it's called greenbrier. It's what I've called it for 20 years, so it's just what it is to me. But it's what's called greenbrier, and in southern Indiana they really like that stuff. For one, they like to eat it, and for two, it provides a lot of really good cover for them, almost too much cover to hunt them. So that's why on this particular property, these little marshes that are in here aren't really that productive. It's just not the best area for them to bed in. They're secluded in here, yes, but they're also trapped in here, which isn't good. I don't think that's a good feeling for them. It's probably an anxiety feeling for them. So just wanted to say that if you guys were wondering why I don't think this is a good area. I'm trying to do a better job of explaining what's going on in my mind. So let's keep going. Something else that I didn't mention, another reason why they may not like this particular area, is because it pretty much leads right into the road, and so it filters a lot of people right here. It's an easy walk to get to here. All that stuff factors in my head whenever I'm scouting an area and looking for good areas. Now, if this little cattail marsh would be a mile back into the public and hard to get to, then yes, I could see it being a little bit better spot. I got a name for areas like this. They're called poser spots. It's just far enough where you can lie to your buddies and tell them you're back a mile, and it's just close enough that any Tom, Dick, or Harry could get in here and hunt. Well, I picked that buck's track back up here, and I'll tell you, this property, this is what separates the men from the boys. It's been pretty easy walking up until now. Just a sea of briars and nasty crap. Right back in there is a clear cut that I'm going to try to get to, but I've walked back through here so many times that I'm about immune to briars, I think, but a good pair of briar pants work well too. So let's suffer our way through here and figure out what this deer's doing. Give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about on this property. I don't know how well the camera is going to show up here, but imagine a cattail marsh, but instead of cattails, it's just briars. The deer have some paths in here, kind of trampled down. Really the only way you can get through here is walking on the paths. I mean, you could get through it, but it wouldn't be very fun. On top of bedding in here, I mentioned the deer really like to eat this stuff. You can see everything just nipped off. It's like this everywhere. This is an old one, but yeah, they like the tops of this stuff. You can see the top there, what it looks like. They nipped that off, it seems like, and munch on that. So pretty funny. The deer trails in here are like, there's no rhyme or reason to them. They're just everywhere. You can tell they're trying to avoid all the briars, but makes it a little easier to walk through. But deer can get through here a lot easier than I can, that's for sure. So I've kind of walked out of the sign, and that happens sometimes. Like you think you know where you're going, and you get there and it's like, where's all the deer go, you know? And that's what happened here. I made a decision to kind of come this way instead of going up towards that clear cut, and I can clearly see now that the deer just aren't in here as much. The briars aren't as thick, and we're getting pretty closer to the other parking lot on the other side of the property. So I'm going to kind of beeline it back towards the clear cut and walk that transition, try to find where those deer are going into that clear cut. All right, I made my way to the clear cut here. You can see the transition right there of where that briary mess is, and then there's a nice set of like a tree line, and then here's the clear cut. And there's a good deer path right through here going into it. I'm pretty sure there's a buck bed right back over that way that I know of, so I'm going to see if this kind of leads that way, and then I'm going to pick out a tree and stuff where I think that deer would come in at. Right now, everything seems to be coming from that way into this clear cut, so I think this is when they're coming back in here to bed in the morning, and I'm going to assume they're going to go out that way in the evenings to eat, because one, crop fields across the road, quite a ways away, but not that far, and then two, in between where I'm at now and the road where the crop fields are, quite a bit of oaks in there. So in early season, I would assume they like to go in there and chew on the oaks. And as soon as I step foot in here, pretty nice rub on that tree right there. Old one right here, but so yeah, keep going. So gear tip real quick, and this is my gear tip, it's not Dan's. Dan doesn't carry binoculars very often, but I have mine all the time. If I don't have them, I feel naked. I use them all the time. It's really helpful when you're scouting. It saves you a lot of steps, because like if you're like me and you're obsessed with antlers, you know, I can look over there, I'm like, is that a stick or an antler? I throw my binoculars up, it could be 60 yards through the woods. Look at it, oh, it's definitely an antler. You can look at antlers, you can look at, is that a rub, you know, is that Waldo over there, whatever the case may be. And saves you a lot of time and a lot of steps, a lot more efficient when you have these around your neck. So get you a good set and wear them. So I'm following this trail back to where I'm thinking this deer could be bedding at, and running in some good rubs again. It's probably him. So almost there now. Hopefully that's where he's sticking at right now. Maybe we'll find some sheds in here or something, who knows. So I'm just in the middle of this clear cut, and where his bed was, it's not really there anymore. You can see the old rubs and stuff, but there wasn't even enough sign there to really show you guys, but I kind of walked around and did find a really good deer trail coming through this clear cut. So you can see the shape of this track right here. It's a pretty big deer. There's also a good rub on that tree right there. And so I'm gonna walk it out that way, which is where I kind of came from. I didn't see this trail. And then I'm gonna walk it back towards the crop fields and just estimate kind of what he's doing. I don't get, like, in areas like this, I don't get real caught up in a specific bed. I know the deer are living in here. You're not really going to get in here close to them, real close to them. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to set on the outside of this area and pick the most logical way that they're going to come out. And that's looks right now, right over there. But still gonna look around in here just to double check my thoughts. I mean, they bed in these little, I'll show you what they usually like to bed in. I mean, these little, like you can see all this grass, and there's these clumps of like brush in here, and they'll bed in there. It looks like there's probably a bed right here actually. An old one right there. So the problem is they can bed a lot of places. So don't drive yourself crazy grid searching this area to find a specific buck bed, because you may be looking forever and then get yourself frustrated. But anyway, let's kind of walk around here a little bit more, see what we find, and then move on. Good amount of rubs in here. You can see there's a historical. You can tell it's historical because it's all scarred up, and then they also rubbed it again this year. So it's a good sign that deer are in here repeatedly year after year. So you can look for stuff like that. Okay, so here's what I have. This is that big clear cut. I'm in kind of one of the corners of it, and it seemed like all the trails filtered down into here, and there's like 4, 5, 6 trails that come out of the clear cut here. So this is my process, I guess. When there's a lot of trails coming out of an area or something like that, I'll try to look for maybe an area where there's a scrape near the bedding. or just do your best at trying to cover as many of these trails as you possibly can. And that's what I'm doing now, is kind of looking around, looking for areas that they've scraped up, or some sign that would tell me like maybe they'll all kind of pile into this one area and go out to the crop fields then. So we do have a lot of these beech trees in here, which they do like to scrape underneath the beech tree limbs. And I'm not seeing any yet, but sure as the sun will rise, I guarantee there's some scrapes here somewhere. So let's look for those, and then I'll probably pick a tree out over those scrapes. If there is some. But anyway, that's what we're doing now. So I kind of made my way along this area here. I was just right over there when I talked to you guys earlier, but there is quite a few good trails coming out right here. There's one right there coming out into the hardwoods, one coming through here. There's also one coming through here and going up, and all those rubs and stuff that we found out in that bedding is right over there. And then there is like an old scrape right here, and you can see there's a couple branches have been broken off where they were licking them at and stuff, so chewing on them. So this is probably the area I like the most. It's also a corner of the clear cut, and it kind of goes down into the low area down there, and then the deer probably go out and around to the crop fields, but or the oaks, whatever they're eating at night. So I'm gonna pick out a tree right here, and I'll let you know which one I decide on. Okay, I think I picked a tree out. I really am picky about what kind of tree I sit in a lot of times. This right here, these are hickories, and they suck to set in. The barks, they have real shaggy bark, and they're loud, they're noisy. Your stand doesn't set good in them. A lot of things that I don't like about hickories to set in them. The tree I picked out is right back here. You can see this. This is a beech tree. I'd probably set in this tree to the right of that beech tree and get up in there somewhere not very high. The reason I like beech trees is that they hold their leaves all through the season essentially around here. I mean, you can see they still have some leaves on right now, and it's February. So think about that when you're setting up. And then from this tree right here that I'd be setting in, you can that scrape is just right over there. A couple of trails come out over there you can shoot, and then also they probably more than likely would venture down this way, I think, to go out into the crop fields through there. They may not, but they could. So that's I'm gonna mark this on my map, and we're done with this spot. Got to keep walking.